Okay, nobody wants to go next, so we are done.
I have a question. I was trying to get there. But I feel that I already have the answer.
All right.
You were talking about forgiving people.
Mm-hmm.
And is it truly okay to not forgive some people?
Yeah. Well, again, the dynamic of forgiveness is often very complex, and it often has a lot of layers to it. And so
Yes.
you can often begin with forgiving a person. Adrian probably told you this any number of times. You begin with the dynamic of forgiveness. You forgive the person for why they did what they did. All right. And why do you forgive them for that? Because usually the dynamic wasn't an abuse situation. It's because it was done to them somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And so they suffered that dynamic of abuse. And so they are just passing that on in a very unconscious way, because you're talking about very basic dynamics of emotion, basic dynamics of energy that were infused when one was very young. So you begin by forgiving the person for why they did. In other words, you begin having compassion for why they've done what they've done. They did it because their life was so horrible. They did it, their life was so terrible. It doesn't mean you're forgiving them the what. It means you're only forgiving them the why. And that's a step. That's a step in that direction. And so you live with that dynamic for a while. And then once you finally accept that dynamic of forgiving them for the why, then you wind up moving into a position where you gain in the increasing levels of awareness, increasing levels of consciousness, you ultimately get to the point where you realize that you chose this journey. Pre-life, you chose this journey. So maybe you need to forgive yourself for giving that dynamic of energy reality. Right. So again, it's that whole dynamic. Ultimately, it's about forgiveness of self. When we talk about forgiveness of self, forgive yourself for all of the tough times you've had. Understand that all of those tough times has led you to wisdom, has led you to experiences, has led you to mastery, has led you to the divine, has led you to God. And even if you don't claim it for yourself, each one of you has found that divine within you. Because you keep coming back for more.
But isn't there a difference
between... Nice to see you, Shell.
Thank you, SOTU.
Sorry, I had a question.
Go ahead.
So, what Sue was saying, there's a difference between forgiving somebody and holding them accountable. So, I can forgive my mother for all of her violence, but I'm always going to hold her accountable for it and keep it arm's length.
She did what she did. She did what she did. And eventually you'll forgive her for that too. When you realize, you're not quite old enough yet, but after she departs, there will be a dynamic when you have a realization that the abuse, the negativity that she perpetrated upon you actually led you to being stronger, being more powerful, being more in that connection with that self. Which, in other words, you don't want to, forgive her for the shit she actually perpetrated upon you. You don't wish to, but eventually you wind up, you do. Eventually you do. And so, like we say, it's an incremental process. We wind up forgiving the why, then eventually you forgive the what, and then eventually you forget that you were ever hurt in the first place. Because
what's hard to wrap my head around is things done intentionally over and over again.
Yeah, no, we understand.
That's the very hard part of forgiving.
People are. It's not.
The intentional part is the rough part.
Yeah, but again, the the intentionality of non-intentionality.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what that means, think about it for a while. Because
Intentional, but not.
yeah, the intentionality is subconscious or is unconscious. It's not your conscious mind. And so
Subconscious.
yeah, exactly. And it's because the perpetrator of the hurt has never forgiven themselves for the dynamics of the hurt that they have suffered.
Never
And never would.
acknowledged it.
Right. Exactly right.
Would that be driven by ego?
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah. I think it would kill some people if they had to admit shit to themselves. It would give them a heart attack. So it really would. I feel that in a way is a type of self-preservation on their part, not being able to admit it. Because I really feel that people that do stuff like that intentionally, subconsciously, definitely can't admit it. So I think in the end, if they could admit it to themselves, it would actually kill them.
Well, it's having unreasonable expectations of people also. A lot of the dynamics of the people, these people are only incarnate in order to provide you with the abuse that you have chosen to have.